The inflation of affairs. I recently found out my wife of 15 years had a months-long affair with another man, first online and then a real, physical affair starting in October when she went overseas to see him. I found out in December, a few days before Christmas. She had told me he was just a friend who went to the same middle school she did, and I believed in her and trusted her so much that even though in hindsight there were some huge, flaming red flags, at the time I rationalized them away whenever I saw them. And the thing that blows my mind the most is that she was always the jealous one. She was the one who was always accusing me of flirting with other women, of looking at them and checking them out, of wanting to walk out on her at any moment, of wanting to screw practically anything that moves, of being the sicko in the relationship. It has been the most heartbreaking, confusing, and stressful thing I have ever been through, and with a major complicating factor that I don't know if very many people here have had to deal with, that when she went overseas, she left me alone to care for the niece of the guy she had an affair with, who was living with us and dependent on us at least for shelter and transportation to school and work. I don't know what to do, whether to leave her or stay with her. I am afraid of both options. I am hoping to just end at some point. I can tell you what not to do to help ensure long-term success in your marriage. Do not marry somebody who you know is just settling for you because they couldn't get the one they really wanted. I knew this was happening, but I rationalized it away. I made this mistake 15 years ago because I have never been the type of guy who could just have any woman he wants anytime. Those kinds of guys are out there, including my wife's eventual OM, and I don't know how they do it, and I was afraid of being alone for the rest of my life. But ever since, I have been nothing but a huge disappointment to my wife, who before we were married would have dumped me in a flash had the guy she had been in love with for years been able to tell her he loved her. Now that I have found out about the affair, the OM is not the same guy she was in love with 15 years ago. She is acting all remorseful and denying that she was ever disappointed in me, but I am not letting her revise history. She was disappointed in just about every aspect of my life and personality. I will never be as attractive physically as her first love or the OM, and I'll never have the personalities they had that appealed to her so much. She was even disappointed in my sleep problem. I'll never forget how her upper lip curled in disgust when she looked at me and reminded me of my sleep problem. So, don't ruin your life with somebody like this. If you know for a fact your prospective marriage partner is with you because they couldn't get the one they really wanted, then run for the hills. Have the confidence that you will find somebody who loves you for you and spare yourself years upon years of misery and heartbreak. I think what I offered was mainly a good salary and U.S. citizenship, as she was an international student when we met in college, so I could give her a good, comfortable life, even though I would never be the kind of guy she really wanted. Even before marriage, she would fight with me over stupid things and threaten to leave me, and I would cling to her and try to keep her from leaving. It's not a healthy dynamic for a relationship. She learned early on that she could deal with me in this way anytime she wanted. I don't think I'm overweight even though I have gained 20 pounds or so over the last several years. I think I was underweighting back then. My sleep apnea may be genetic. My dad used to snore like a freight train. He may have had it and was never diagnosed. We are in the United States. She is Indian. I am the same ethnicity but born and raised here. She was never shy about telling anybody and everybody in our families and circle of friends. My wife was always the jealous one. So, when I think of my sleep test, I remember how a female technician put the probes and sensors on me and how my wife was so jealous and thought I had the hots for the technician. And then several months later she was the one who had an affair. I have had all of those things, shock, anxiety attacks, with nausea and shortness of breath, sadness, and depression. I cannot focus or concentrate on work at all. Ever since I found out, she has been playing the role of remorseful spouse, but I am not sure how sincere it is. I don't know if I can trust anything about her anymore. This has made me question everything I thought I knew about her. I have reevaluated all of her past jealousy and abusive behavior toward me in light of this affair. She has been asking my forgiveness and telling me she is no longer in contact with her OM, even though they could still communicate without me knowing. And even if she is truly not in contact with him, I don't know if that really matters at this point. When I found out, she says she was going to tell me when she came back home, but I don't know if that's true or for how long she would have waited. I question that because she went back home in India in 2011. And back then a male friend from her middle school, not the OM or the guy she was originally in love with before we were married, got her drunk and took her to a hotel room and tried to sleep with her. She claimed that she refused and this guy always had a thing for her, but she never reciprocated. But she didn't tell me about this incident until 2016 when she was having the online phase of her affair with her OM, and even then, I don't know what motivated her to tell me. And I don't know why she waited so long to tell me if she really was innocent. I believed her when she told me that even though she was completely drunk, she didn't sleep with the guy from her middle school in 2011. But I know now that it was entirely possible, and I wonder if she was honest with me about that part of it. So now that I think of it, maybe she has had 2 affairs by now. I will have to ask her when practical. Although I didn't know about the online affair in October, when my wife left the country, I thought for sure she was leaving me for her OM. I was trying to brace myself for major devastation. I was expecting her to ask me for a divorce, and I prepared myself as best I could to let her go for her happiness. In many ways that would have been preferable to what is happening now, which is having the affair, both online and physically, and then trying to tug at my heartstrings and manipulate me to get back with me. Yes, even though she denies it, I did accuse her of it. She knows very well that she had a good life with me, with practically unlimited freedom, but she took me for granted and is scared of losing it now. She freaked out when I told her that I had talked to our attorney about divorce, although she confessed right away when I asked her if there was anything between her and OM besides just friendship. She confessed to sleeping with him. But I found out because one morning in December, she video chatted me in FB and she was acting really funny, just talking weird and looking at me weird. So, I checked her FB Messenger because I had the password. I thought it might be a genuine problem of some sort. The last thing I expected to find out about was an affair, but there it was. Explicit messages from the OM such as, "Are you on your period? And you're not letting me come on you," and an arrangement to meet in a hotel room, which I think is where she had just come from when she video chatted me in that weird way. It was guilt that gave her away. She only confessed when caught. And as I explained in another thread, I am now wondering if she didn't have a second affair back in 2011. I found out about it on December 22, 2016. I told her most guys would have sent her the divorce papers on December 23rd. And I can't believe they were stupid enough to use FB Messenger. Normally they were better at covering their tracks because it had gone on for months. I was committed to her, but if I were going to do this, at least I would have been smart enough to use Snapchat. My wife grew up in a household where adultery and cheating were an obsession on the part of her parents, especially her father. This is also a long and complicated story that I think was a contributing factor to the wreckage of our own marriage. Her mother allegedly cheated on her father when she, my then future wife, was a child in her impressionable years. Her father fought with her mother about the same things every day, which is a theme that she repeated with me as an adult with her jealousy and paranoia about small things. Her father also emotionally abused her daughter, my future wife, in all his devastation over this alleged affair. I am certain this led to her being emotionally stunted, oversensitive to small things people do, and probably suffering from borderline personality disorder or depression for the rest of her life. And yes, she has always been obsessed with cheating and adultery and anything that has remotely to do with those things. Not only always trying to catch me screwing around but also acting sometimes like a tryst here and there would appeal to her if she ever had the chance. So, screwed up. I just don't even care anymore. Maybe someday I will be ready. Certainly not now, though. As long as I shower and shave and keep my hair cut, when I look in the mirror, I don't think I'm so hideous, but who knows what women think. It doesn't even matter right now. I am American-born, but my parents came from India a few years before I was born. We met in college when we had the same major and same part-time job. That was in 1999, and we started dating in 2001. We didn't date for very long before getting married, only 8 months. She has to come home from overseas first, which will happen in a couple of weeks. Honestly, I'm not sure if I want D or R. I'm afraid of both. I will see how she acts toward me. I just want to be like roommates. She is afraid of what her immediate family will think, and probably her extended family and friends, too. She thinks her family will ostracize her if they find out, and she may very well be correct. She thinks her parents will have heart attacks if they find out. I've never been a very aggressive person, and my wife took advantage of that throughout the years. I am still supporting her financially. I was never supporting her OM, at least not on purpose. I was, and we both were, before she left, supporting his niece, who came to live with us for a time while she went to college and worked part-time. I do need time to process this, and I didn't want to make any decisions immediately, and I did tell her I needed time to myself, so I asked her to stay overseas with her family, and just tell them she wanted to spend time with them so they wouldn't be suspicious that maybe there was trouble in her marriage. She complied for a time, but then she got impatient and forced the issue by buying a ticket home. She will be home in about 2 weeks. I hope when she is here that she will just leave me alone as much as I need it. She is not currently with him. She claims to have had no contact with him for the past 2 months since I found out about the affair. I don't see any evidence of it in FB Messenger, which is where I found out about it in the first place. But that doesn't mean they aren't communicating in some other way. She may be telling the truth, but then again, I never thought she was capable of the affair to begin with. It's really hard to trust her anymore. At the ripe old age of 42, I think it's too late to seriously change my physique, and I just don't have the time, energy, or motivation. I am just very tired these days. Regarding your list of 9 things, I've done 1 and 8. Regarding 7, I've asked a few times now and I still don't know what a 180 is. I sort of do 5 and 6. My body just shuts down at some point during the night. Regarding 2, I've not had physical contact with my wife since her affair, as it took place overseas. And I don't plan to when she comes home. I don't know if I even want to touch her. And the just let them go essay, I've asked her if she wanted to go with the OM. She denies that and says she wants to stay with me. When she left the country, I thought for sure she was leaving me for him, that if she hit it off with him when she got there, she would ask me for a divorce. That would have hurt very badly, but in some ways, it would have been preferable to what is going on now. I've always wondered if my wife had self-esteem issues deep down, even though she always talked aloud, good game. Just because she was always so hurt by small things that people say and do, that most of us would not think anything of or consider a minor irritation at most. By the first OM, are you referring to the guy who got her drunk and took her to a hotel in 2011? I can't remember if I mentioned him. Anyway, if that's who you're referring to, then yes, that took place over there, too. If no, then maybe you know something about her that I don't. My parents are from Delhi. Yes, she has the same ethnicity. I am Christian, and she is Hindu, but she also has a Christian side of her family. Yes, both of the OMs are from there as well. I don't think she will go after just anyone. I think guys like these she considers to be handsome, and they had some of that mystery type appeal for her. I still don't know if she slept with the first OM, but in hindsight there were some interactions with him that should have been red flags. I don't know. It's all so messed up. Supposedly, she is not with him right now. But in fairness, I have been the one holding her off. I told her I needed time to myself to figure out what our next steps are. She bought a ticket home against my wishes. It may very well not be the first time. Last year, after her online affair started with her OM, she told me that when she went to India in 2011, one of her friends from childhood got her totally drunk and took her to a hotel and tried to sleep with her. She claims she did not reciprocate or sleep with him, but now I know that she is entirely capable of it. So that guy could have been an OM, too. God knows if there ever has been anyone else. I have always been clueless. For what it's worth, I have been talking to our lawyer and a counselor, and sometimes I do things for myself. No, we don't have children. I would not have minded having children in the past, but after marrying her, and seeing how she treated me and finding out how she was treated in her family of origin, I gave up on the idea. I didn't see why she would treat her child any differently if she had one. I wanted the cycle of abuse to stop with her. Sometimes she says she wants to conceive by IVF, now that we are a little older, but I have no desire. Half a year later, I went into severe depression that hit rock bottom over the summer, and then my doctor put me on antidepressants, which along with the healing power of time, have helped. We are not divorced yet, but I've decided that's what I want. In fairness to myself, I was referring to settling from her point of view, which she was, and not my own. Although I had self-esteem issues in the past, this had no bearing on my post, and I was not referring to that. And I meant, in a much more general sense, to advise others, don't marry a person who doesn't really want to be with you, who actually wanted to be with someone else but couldn't get them. It will make for an unhealthy relationship. Don't learn the hard way like I did. I know I am a really good guy and a woman should be lucky to be with me. I don't mean that in a cocky way. I'm not rich or super good looking, but you could do much worse. I have no defense for her, or interest in defending her. I'm done. My comment, she likes a plan B around her. You can tell as time goes on, just leave her and you'll be fine. You don't need to overthink it. Like I said before, fog can happen on both sides. Step back, take a break and run. Story 2. My husband and I have many mutual friends. When we separated, we both kept the same friends but stopped seeing each other. I don't go out with my friends if my husband is in attendance. We have a son, and that has made it a lot easier to avoid each other since he is almost always with one of us. In October I was hanging out with my friends and drinking. I am not much of a drinker. I have social anxiety and it was really bad that night, so I drank more than I normally do. I had 7 or 8 drinks in less than 2 hours. I had slept with a friend of mine. That friend is also a friend of my husband's. That isn't something that I would normally do. I had never hooked up with anyone. I only had bonding in a serious relationship. I'm not blaming the alcohol. I chose to drink that much and to drink it so quickly. I can barely remember what happened. I don't remember how we got to the point of having bonding. My memory goes from being with all of my friends to being upstairs sleeping with him to thinking for a second that I should stop it to being done and falling asleep to waking up and puking my guts out and falling asleep on the bathroom floor. I have never been that drunk. I have never thrown up from drinking and have never had memory problems. My friend filled in a lot of the gaps, but his memory of it is vastly different than my own. I am 12 weeks pregnant. I cry all the time because I didn't want this. I'm not even divorced yet and I'm pregnant by another man. That's horrible. The friend that I slept with had a fiancé. That's even worse. Their relationship has ended. Part of that burden is on me. My friend and I have been trying to create a relationship. It messed with my head that I'm dating a man that I'm already pregnant by. We have skipped so many steps. It's difficult. I'm unsure how much to try and force a relationship. People have arranged marriages and that seems to work sometimes. Maybe we can learn to make a relationship work. His parents hate me. He says they will come around and be excited for their first grandchild. I don't get along with my husband. Now it's even worse. I feel guilty that I have made our co-parenting relationship worse than it was. My son deserves better than that. We were not fighting about much in our divorce. Now my husband is changing his mind on everything. He has been saying hurtful things to me. I need thicker skin. I didn't want to be with my husband, but now that it's so final, I'm second-guessing myself. He is saying that we could have worked it out if I hadn't gone and done this. I'm finding it very difficult to cope with my husband. I hate having to see him. Our divorce has become much harder. I have lost most of my friends. My family is not supportive, and my mom told me that I'd better marry my friend because no man would want me after what I've done. True or not, it hurt a lot coming from my mom. They have never been supportive, but that doesn't stop the pain. I feel guilty that I played a role in ruining my friend's relationship. I feel guilty that I'm forcing him into fatherhood with me. I should be strong enough for an abortion or adoption, and I'm not. I wouldn't be able to live with myself. He wants to be a father, but not like this. I'm not prepared to have 2 babies from different men and what goes along with that. I'm not prepared for 2 different custody schedules of my friend, and I cannot work it out. I'm not prepared for dealing with 2 men and their families. I'm not coping well with the shame that comes with what I've done. I'm finding it very difficult to form a relationship with my baby's father in this situation. I hate the sound of being a woman with 2 children from 2 men. I wouldn't care if I was in my second marriage. In this situation, I hate it. There is a lot of judgment. At least right now. I have to get used to it. Do you mean where do I live? I don't particularly want to say exactly where I live. If someone who knows me reads this, they will know it's me regardless. I don't think my location in this world is relevant. He was with his fiancée. Their relationship ended after. It ended when I told him that I am pregnant. He told his fiancée the day after we were together, and they were going to try and work it out. I know it looks bad. That's the first time he has cheated. He told his fiancée right away. He is my baby's father. I have to try. I didn't cheat on my husband. We separated in March. I shouldn't have done it, I know. Am I wrong? Is the separation irrelevant and I cheated on him? I'm not a cheater. If he's a bad person for what he did, then I'm just as bad because I did the same thing. If I shouldn't want him because of that, then shouldn't he feel the same way? I don't have anyone to talk to. My mom is not supportive. I don't have a big family. Most of my friends hate me because of what I did. I'm not religious and no church would want me now. I screwed up. I was separated from my husband for 7 months at the time of the hookup. We separated in March. I filed for divorce in April. We were not planning on getting back together. I don't know if he has dated or not. We didn't have any rules against it. Our marriage was over long before we separated. I didn't cheat on my husband. My husband didn't want me when we were married. He didn't want me when we separated. It doesn't make sense that he would want me now. He said that to hurt me. He probably doesn't want me to be with someone else, especially a friend of his. Dealing with everything at once is hard on me. We have been friends for 8 years. He was my husband's friend first, then became my friend through my husband. I wasn't very close to him. We only saw each other when I was hanging out with another mutual friend. We didn't talk outside of hanging out. He is a nice guy. I have social anxiety and he always tried to make me feel more comfortable. He is the opposite of my husband. I have always been attracted to him. We didn't flirt with each other. He was very nice to me, but I don't think it was flirting. It felt like it at times because it was so different from my husband. My attraction to him did get a lot stronger after I separated from my husband. I may have flirted subtly without meaning to. If he ever flirted, it was very subtle. I think he was just a nice guy. He said that I came onto him, but I don't remember that. Or much else. He is very upset at his relationship with his fiancée ending. They were together for 15 years. They started dating when they were 15. He wasn't completely happy, but he didn't want the relationship to end. He blames himself and knows it's his fault. He told her that he slept with me the day after. As soon as he woke up, he went home and told her they were going to stay together. Me being pregnant ruined that. I have a lot of guilt about that. He cries a lot about losing the relationship. He tries not to in front of me because I get upset too. It's hard to process everything at once. I do feel forced to try and make a relationship work. To at least try. He wants to as well. I don't want to ruin our friendship. I am worried about that. I don't need another bad co-parenting relationship. I need to try with him though. We have enough in common and a lot of the same wants and needs. I'm not trying to force a relationship that would have no success. We could be happy. It's possible. I would rather not think of miscarrying. I have had miscarriages in the past with my husband. If I miscarried right now, we would stop trying to have a relationship. More than anything because it would be too hard to deal with. I know that he looks bad because he cheated. I know he could cheat on me too. I trust him. I don't think he would cheat again. He beats himself up over this. It's difficult at the moment, but it's possible that we could have a good relationship. We are both attracted to each other and we get along well. He is the complete opposite of my husband. That's a good thing. Some of the factors in my divorce would not be a problem with my friend. I know it's a bad situation, but it's not completely hopeless. In regard to my separation, should I stand firm on our original decisions or should I give my husband what he wants? Do I owe it to him now to give him what he wants, to get the divorce over faster? I'm confused. I'm not supposed to talk to him. Am I not supposed to ask for help from anyone? My husband's mom still tries to help me. I am employed. I will be able to raise 2 children on my own if I have to. I don't want it, but I will be able to. My friend wouldn't abandon his child. He will be able to provide for this child as well. I have been told that it will get better when the baby gets here. I hope that's true. I wish it would get better now. I wouldn't be able to live with myself if I gave the baby away for adoption. I wouldn't be able to do it. The father doesn't want that either. He didn't want me to abort either. He wants kids. Not like this, but he wants them. I don't want to be seen as a cheater. My husband and I were separated and there was no intention to get back together. Our marriage has been over for a long time. Longer than we've been separated. I wasn't planning on dating anyone. Definitely not hooking up with someone. Definitely not a mutual friend. I regret it. We might not work out, but I need to try. He wants to and I want to. This baby deserves us to at least try. I don't want another baby to not have its parents together. I don't want to have 2 babies from 2 men and not be with either of them. I didn't want to start dating yet. Now I don't want to be alone. I am the first person he cheated with. I know that it doesn't look good on him. He isn't a bad guy. I slept with him knowing he was engaged. I'm not better than him. I don't know anyone who has had an unplanned pregnancy, let alone outside of a relationship. I feel like a bee. I'm not in counseling. Would it help? I don't want to be judged by another person. Should me and the baby's dad go together? We are not married, but could it help? My husband refused to go, so I haven't ever gone. He has been my husband's friend for 20 years. I messed up. It's none of his business what I do. I made it his business when I had slept with his friend. I wish I could take it back. My husband wants to make a clause that neither of us can introduce our son to a new partner for 12 months. That would mean that my baby's father can't be around my son even after the baby is born. It's a direct retaliation to what I did. Should I stop accepting help from my husband's mom? Help is fine, but should I cut ties with my husband's family? I may look for a local support group. Even in a single-parent group, I'm embarrassed of how I got there. I used to think I was a good person. Now I'm not sure. They got engaged earlier this year. He is 30. Their relationship wasn't perfect and he was a bit hesitant, but that's none of my business. I wouldn't be able to do that. I would still be losing my child. I'm not concerned with being freed up. Every time my husband wants to discuss our divorce, we shouldn't talk about it. He should send his changes to his lawyer to send to mine. He calls or texts me, or confronts me when picking up our son. I am keeping an open mind that a relationship might work out. I don't want to rush it though. We already are rushing it by getting pregnant before knowing his middle name. I do want our relationship to be good before our baby is born. We have talked about moving in together closer to the baby coming. We're not ready yet. I'm a third culture kid. My mom is from the UK. My dad is American. I was born in Canada. I was raised in Germany. Then we moved back to Canada. I feel horrible for ruining their relationship. I hate myself for what I did. There probably isn't anything that I can do for her. I would do it if there was something. I don't remember what I was thinking when I hooked up with him. I am attracted to him, but I didn't plan on ever sleeping with him. He isn't a piece of crap. He made a mistake. So, did I? He's not trash though. It was as out of character for him as it was for me. He didn't plan on it happening either. Why would you tell him not to marry me? I didn't know that it could all go through our lawyers. It would make it easier. I never know when he's going to demand something or show up yelling at me. He has been in one physical fight with my baby's father. I want to avoid any more confrontation. My son is supposed to alternate homes every 3 days. My husband doesn't show up half the time. I wouldn't want my mom to come for nothing. She wouldn't do it anyway. Sometimes I have my husband's mom pick my son up instead. She has been nothing but nice to me. I didn't plan on dating or hooking up with anyone. My baby's father is the only man I have had any type of relation with. I didn't plan it. I was attracted to him, but I didn't think about ever having a relationship with him. He was engaged. It wasn't an option. I wasn't ready to date. He is the only person I've had slept with outside of a relationship. I'm 26. Regardless, I shouldn't have done it. The way I look at it, I'm 26, divorced, with 2 children from different men. I ruined an engagement. I created a divide in a long-lasting group of friends. I ruined my co-parenting relationship with my husband. Whether it's with my baby's father or not, at some point I want to be in a relationship again. It's not my primary focus, but it is on my mind. My husband is a perpetual git. I put the effort into our marriage. He wouldn't. I have guilt from ending my marriage. Who is stupid enough to get pregnant from a one-night stand? It's not my main focus, but I do get upset about how I will be viewed by people from now on. My friends were all drinking as well. They didn't notice how much I was drinking or how I was acting. I sat in one spot most of the night. They wanted to go to a bar and I didn't want to. I stayed home with my baby's dad and one other couple. I'm horrified at what I did. I haven't had slept with him a second time. I'm pregnant by him, but I won't sleep with him. That sounds so stupid. I'm scared too. I don't really remember sleeping with him. I can't explain the feeling. I hate what I did. I won't marry him unless I want to. I don't want to be in another unhappy marriage. We are not planning on marrying anytime soon. I would want to be with him for a few years before marrying him. Or longer. My husband is a completely different man now than he was before we married. I don't want to go through that again. My baby's father wants us to be together too. I do need to find new friends that are no mutual friends. Making friends is hard for me. If my friends were not mutual friends of my husband's and my baby's father and his fiancée, they wouldn't have reacted the way they have. My husband, my baby's dad, and his fiancée have been in the friend group far longer than I have. I know I'm not a skank, but I feel like one. I would have gone back on birth control if I had planned to date or hook up, or at least have had condoms. I would do anything to go back and fix my mistake. I wish I could take the pain away from everyone. I hate myself for what I did. I'm horrified at what I did. I have told her that I'm sorry. Words mean nothing after what I did. She thinks we had slept together more than once and had a relationship because I didn't have an abortion. I have to keep telling myself that it won't be like this forever. It's hard to imagine that the day will come when people won't care and it won't be a big deal. My baby's father doesn't think poorly of me. He knows the whole situation. I wish my family would at least come around. My mom has never been supportive, but I still crave her support. I hate baby mama and baby daddy. That's what we are to each other. I guess we aren't going to move in together right away. He lives an hour away. We have talked about moving in together close to the due date, depending on how things go. I strongly dislike my husband, but I feel horrible for what I did to him. If I had slept with anyone other than a friend of his, he wouldn't care. Ex's friends are off limits for a reason. Do I tell him to start corresponding through our lawyers instead of directly with me? We have a custody schedule in place. My husband doesn't stick to it. My son called me a jerk recently. I don't swear around him. I can assume where he got that from. Maybe I don't have thick enough skin. Even though we are separated and divorcing, it still hurts when my husband trashes me. The man that my husband is now is not the man whom I married. I married a man who was kind, caring, and loving. I'm divorcing a man who is hateful, cold, and self-centered. He stopped caring. He is stopping seeing me. He stopped loving me. I was no longer worth the effort. He refused to spend even a minute of his day with me. I would stand near him and it was like I was invisible. I would touch him and he physically pushed me away. I would ask for help and he would refuse. I would tell him I needed more from him and he would laugh it off. I begged my husband to change. I begged him to go to a marriage therapist with me. I begged him to read the umpteen marriage books I bought. How many times was I supposed to let him put his hands on me aggressively? How many nights was I supposed to let my heart break when he refused to kiss me? How many problems was I supposed to tackle on my own with no support or acknowledgement from my husband? How long was I supposed to let my son learn that was what a marriage looked like? How long was I supposed to force it? How many major decisions was I supposed to allow him to make and change? I threw in the towel in March and filed in April. He didn't care. It did not knock any sense into him. Last Christmas I was trying to carry my son's gifts out of my mother-in-law's house. My husband left and got in the car without helping carry anything or take our son out. A cousin's boyfriend helped me. All he did was help me by carrying out a box. That made me cry and it felt like the nicest thing someone could do. There are so many of those moments scattered throughout my marriage. That tiny moment was my breaking point. I met my husband in 2010. We married August 2013. We started trying for a baby and I got pregnant on our honeymoon. At 16 weeks I miscarried. 3 months later I was pregnant again. 6 weeks later I miscarried again. 5 months later I was pregnant again. 7 weeks later I miscarried again. We stopped trying and gave up. January 2015, I got pregnant without us planning it. My husband refused to partake in the pregnancy. He refused to bond with the baby. He refused to support me. He refused to help me. Instead, he pretended that my pregnancy was non-existent. He never changed. My marriage has been over for years. My comment: do you want to be a twice-divorced mother of 2 children from 2 fathers? And would that be better than a once-divorced mother of 1 child? Imagine how hectic 2 children being sent back and forth between 3 different people will be. Think about your future before you make your next decision.